Your favorite legendary opinionated Amerislav here at Rich and Hydrated. And today we're back after what, a year, two, maybe something, of the Diamonds and Demons episode, Diamonds and Demons edition. Here with us, Kelly Diamond. Your name is like seriously boss, though.
It is. I can't give it up. I won't give it up.
No. So just a little preface for the watchers, new ones and old ones. Kelly and I discuss life. We laugh at leftovers of any kind. We share experiences. Kelly is like on the level of like wisdom. You're like 10 quadruple million ahead of me.
I don't know about
So,
that.
and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that today because I have a topic today.
Let's go.
Oh, and by the way, also public apology. So everybody listen, I apologize to Miss Diamond here yesterday already. But also a public one. So when we were doing weekly episodes, then I moved to Montana, then I moved to California. Life was like weird chaos, and I kept wanting to put it back, but I just never did back, which is not how I normally operate. This is below my standards. This is unacceptable. So also here another apology. This is not, again, it's not up to the standard that I would like to be remembered by. So instead of probably having one exact moment every week, we're going to look per week or whatever, but we're going to be back just because the farm life creates much more chaos. So again, I'm still figuring shit like that out. But what I wanted to talk about, and I made a Reddit post about this and I shared it, like I asked friends too. So, you know, when you're like, so I'm obviously from a chaotic, turbulent background, and I realized that I don't know how to, I'm very good at fighting, but I'm not so good at conflict, like in romantic relationship, right? Because my initial response is everybody, fuck you, I'm fucking out. And I asked the Reddit, there's a Reddit subreddit called like Ask Old People or something. It's really wholesome. It's one of the few wholesome Reddits. And I'm like, married couples who've been together for a long time, how do you learn how to deal with conflict? And I'm like, Kelly with her fucking dream relationship and marriage, she gonna have shit to say about this too.
Okay.
No pressure.
Okay. Well, I would say there's a couple of things, right? The first is that when you're whatever the issue is, before I even know whatever specific example, right? No matter how frustrated you are, it isn't because your partner was being malicious. If you start to read malice into everything, you will get malice out of everything. Guaranteed, right? You will see what you want to see. Assume that the person is doing something and they still love you while they do it, right? Now, I'm not saying that for everything. I'm sure there are things where it's like, okay, that's crossing a line. That's not okay. This is beyond conflict, though, at that point, right? We're crossing lines of morality, maybe. And,
sure,
like, but let's put that aside for a second. We're talking about just day-to-day conflict resolution. He's got a weird habit, or like, he refuses.
All the women go like, why are you breathing so loud?
I can hear you chewing. Why? Well, you're eating. Well, that's pissing me off too. Like, I mean, right? I mean, and I get it because like I ovulate and my eggs sometimes talk for me, and that's fine. Like, I get it. But also, when I get like that, he knows I'm not being mean-spirited, right? Like, he knows not to read malice into it either. And so it's like, I think going in with that first, right? That it's like, I want to fix it because I love you and I know you love me, right? So if that's the underlying, like when you go into it, whatever it is, that's a good place to start.
Anyway. So I'm gonna keep asking questions because I want to go deeper on every point you're gonna make. Mm-hmm. So how do you? And I'm using publicly myself right now as like test doll, right? There are things, so like, I know theoretically that malicious intent is not present, but I come from an environment that imprinted it in my DNA. Right. So while I rationally can think it, and I'm at a point now where I'm detached enough to not act on the DNA, right? It's still very much present. So how do you learn? Because it's a practice, it's training, like retraining the DNA, right? How do you practice when your body's saying, opponent, 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 war, 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 into like, but that's not what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah. I think it's almost like a conscious effort, right? Where you recognize it in yourself. And I will say, like, I didn't start off rational. Started off like, not coming from where you came from, but still kind of having that, like, for a different reason, right? So
right,
like,
right. And by the way, this the chaotic circumstances is a whole spectrum, right? That could be just like an unregulated mom or dad or whatever, right? Or stress, money stress in family.
Or even learning it as like something that was actually okay and good. Like,
right.
I mean, just like not even like knowing that that's a cope. I didn't even see it as a cope. For me, I didn't like something. I was like, all right, well, I hate fighting and I hate bickering. I won't bicker with anyone. Like that was just like that I grew up with. And I was like, I don't like it. I don't like what it makes me. And I don't like how it makes other people feel around them. I know that because that's how my parents were. They bicker and I hated bickering. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that with you. It's petty and it's a pissing match that I'm above that. And I really felt like that. Like, I really felt like, you know what? I'm above all of this. Like there was a guy I dated in college where like he thought he could make me jealous. And I said, oh, I don't fuck with that. I just don't stick around. And I just walked out of the room and that was it. Like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to blow up at you. I really don't. That was it. And he's like, you're not even going to try and make it work? And I was like, if you're going to make choices in front of me that tell me that this is how you are, then this is what it is. And I'm willing to work with that. You show me what I'm working with, and then I make a decision and I respond to that. And this is my response. I feel like I'm being fairly rational, right? Because I didn't blow up. I did not get angry. I didn't do any of that stuff. And I thought, I'm the whole fucking grown up right now, and that's it. High five me, and going on my life. I think there's certain things worth fighting for. There's certain things worth going through it rather than just abandoning, right? And I had to learn that. I think it was after my divorce where I said, and I don't deny that I was right to leave because the man has not changed. He's the same guy I left. So like, whereas I feel like I've really kind of grown up from where I was. You look at Kelly 15 years ago versus Kelly today, it is not the same Kelly. Like, it's me personality wise, but it is not me in terms of like emotional regulation. Right. Sure. I'm the same species. I'm the same me, but I am a more mature me. I do believe that, and I've regulated a lot, and just kind of reconciled a lot. And in doing so, part of that was me owning my own shortcomings and saying, you know what, first of all, you ignored every red flag. That's on you, Kelly. Like, right? Like, own that. And it's like, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, he did this and he does that. And it's like, and whose fault is it for fucking sleeping with that and marrying it? Like, whose fault is that? You said yes, he didn't rape you. And it's like, you kept saying yes. And I was like, all right, fair enough. Me, and it was like, I think I kind of threw the tantrum with me first, right? I threw a whole tantrum about my divorce with me. Like, I'm just like, that motherfucker, blah, 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 blah. And first it was all him, right? Then it was like, not really. It's me, like, and part of that was just me recognizing, hey, we are not actually compatible. Like, that's real. And I recognized it, but I recognized it in the most fucked up way possible, So it's like, like when people talk about brutal honesty and they're just like, it's not the honesty, it's the brutality of it. And you could have done better. And I'm like, yeah, I could have done it better. I could have done a lot of things differently and better. And I didn't. I was not well regulated. I get that, and it's like, and I got to own that, and it's like, best I can do is be better today. Right. Okay. There was no reconciling with the ex-husband. However, looking forward, right? The real conversation was, you can't just keep treating relationships like tissue paper. They're not just like you blow in it and throw it away. You're going to have to be able to find one that you can wash off and reuse each time and keep it, and like you've got to use something that is more, reusable and more sustainable and more, and you're going to have to do that work yourself. Now, it's not entirely on me, right? It's not 100% on me, but I got to regulate the part that is, and so I think part of it is that there is a level of compatibility that I have with my current husband, right? And so there's a lot of stuff that we just don't fight about. Like it never comes up because it's kind of like we're actually different enough to where like when I think something's important, he's like, I'm down for it, whatever, right? It's not important to me, but if it's important to you, we'll do it. I don't care. Either way, I'm down. I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's important, so you do it, and then I'll support you however I can. And then there's stuff for him that's like that. And I'm like, I never thought of it. Wasn't that important to me, but it's big for you. Fine, we'll do it. We're not in conflict here. Like, I'm fine. We'll just do whatever. Not a big deal. There's a lot of that. So it's like we're different, but like we kind of complement each other and support each other in that. The few places where we're different and like where the differences matter, right? And where the differences start to, maybe peak a little bit are areas where it's like here, it's more like, okay, I need certain things, but here's why it's important, right? Like, and so what I'm essentially doing, and I feel like, a lot of people have told me that like, you sound like you feel like you have to justify yourself. You shouldn't have to justify yourself to your spouse, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, but I do need to explain it, because if they don't see it, how the fuck are they going to know? Like,
it's not justification, it's making them understand.
Right. And I'm just like, I'm not justifying myself. Like, I've never felt that.
Grown ass woman, the fuck?
Right. Okay. And 13 years in, this is what I'm doing. I'm literally like pleading a case for myself. No, that's not, this is so, and that kind of perspective is toxic unto itself, right? You've already tainted it with that feeling of like, I'm defensive and I'm like, I got to explain myself because otherwise, he's going to think this, or, he's clearly too stupid to understand. Well, all of that is wrong. Right. So I go in with this, I go in with the understanding, and part of this learning came from just being a manager at work. You see enough people and you meet enough people where it's like, you literally do not see the world as I do. And I have to, and it's like, and that hit me really hard as I was at I was working at another company where, the boss was just at odds with me. And I was like, we really don't see the world the same. Like, it's obvious. Like, it's beyond just little differences. Like, we don't see certain things. I am literally standing at a vantage point where where I see something and you don't. Like, so, okay, if that's the case, then I need to stop for going in with the assumption that he sees what I see. But I also have to go in with the assumption that he's not beneath me. He has the same intelligence as me, and he's perfectly capable of seeing it if I just explain it, right? So, and that was something that kind of like that was a lesson that kind of came together over time, where it was like I had this aha moment where I had a professor who taught me how to write a paper, and he says, I want you to pretend that if you dropped your paper in a different department, in the math or science department, that a person of equal intelligence but in a different discipline could pick it up, read it, and understand it. Can you write like that, right? Can you write it so that anybody can understand it if they picked it up and read it? Because if you're being so esoteric that nobody can pick up what you're saying, and you're just out there with these concepts, you're not going to be understood. And if you're not going to be understood, then all of that intelligence is wasted and all that time is wasted. So you might as well just, and you're going to get frustrated, and so is the reader, by the way, right? So all of these lessons kind of came together, and ultimately I was like, that is literally how you have to talk to people. They are of equal intelligence. They are perfectly capable of seeing what you see and understanding what you understand. You are not dealing with a stupid person, obviously, especially in a relationship. Why the fuck would I have picked a stupid person, right? I mean, is that what I did? No, that's not what I did. I picked somebody who's actually quite intelligent and very smart. But we have different views, and our different views are going to come, and it's going to present itself in conflict. So you have equal intelligence and you have no malice, right? That is something that I think before the conversation even starts, it is something that might, even though you intellectually know it, it would almost make sense to say it out loud and to almost like audibly tell yourself this thing, because thinking it is not enough, right? Like if thinking it is not enough, then writing it down or saying it out loud, or, you know, or repeating it to yourself and saying that I need to root my mind in this before I have a conversation. I need to make sure that I'm 10 toes down on this premise first. Because if I'm not, and I've got one foot out the door, or I've got this thing, I'm not ready to have the conversation yet. I'm not ready yet, and I get it. I've been there. Like there's plenty of reasons why I'm not ready to have a conversation. I just got totally pissed off at work. I am so not having a heavy conversation about our conflicts at home right now. Like I'm not. I mean, if you open that can of worms, and you're going to get a very shitty person, and I know it. So it's like, I need to be ready to have the conversation. And sometimes that's what it takes, is it's like, I need to kind of ground myself a minute. I need to be super prepared, and I need to do this. And it might just be really even going so far as structuring it that way to where it's like, I need to say what I need to say, and then I need you to hear me, and then I need you to have a response, but your response needs to say that you heard me. Even if you don't agree right away, I need to know that you heard what I said correctly. And it takes an extra step, but it helps, believe it or not, to hear somebody say, this is what I heard you say. Is that correct? And confirming it, because if they heard something different and you keep going, it's only going to get derailed on the other end, right? So it's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I am literally here trying to pick up what you're lying down. And this is what I heard. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. Okay. Then he's going to start from the right place. And what you're essentially doing is confirming, not affirming, but confirming that each of you heard what the other said, right? I get that can sound tedious, but at the same time, it keeps everything really cool, because it doesn't allow you to insert assumptions and conjecture and tone or whatever, or how I think you feel. And I'm not reading that in, and I'm not putting in extra stuff and fluffing up or, skewing what you're doing or saying or understanding. I am literally getting real feedback from you in real time that says that. It's not a bad exercise. I understand it can sound a bit tedious, but if you think about it, we're just grown children. There's a part of us, and the fight or flight part is literally a kid. That's a kid. That's not your adult self. Your adult self is the one that says, I intellectually know that he's not malicious and he loves me. That's your adult. But your kid's screaming, and he's going to outshout your adult self, right? They're going to outshout it. And it's going to be distracting. I mean, think about it. If a real child was sitting there screaming, that would be really distracting in a conversation that you're trying to have as an adult. But imagine that happening in your head. That's the one that's telling you, holy shit, no, this is and panicking. The child needs to know that they're heard and understood. And we all have that still inside us. I think it's silly to say that grownups don't have the same needs as children, when in fact, those needs never went away. Maybe our vocabulary is not as big. Maybe our understanding of the abstract is not there. Maybe our maturity in terms of experience is not there as a kid. But the emotional need of a child is the same emotional need as an adult. People need to know that they were heard, that they were understood, and that somebody is actionably trying to engage them, and that it is safe to do so. And I don't think that changes just because you came from a really stable household, or because you're now 39 instead of 3, or whatever. I think that's just a lot of window dressing. I think at the end of the day, your psyche is still looking to know that it's safe to proceed, and that even though I'm upset, this person cares enough to hear me, and they proved it because they said it back to me. So I know they heard me, and I know that I'm okay. And with each one, the calming will happen, and the okay. By the end of that conversation, I think it'll be very amicable and very calm and very peaceful, but also fully reconciled, because at some point that child will have calmed down and you'll just be having a conversation. It won't be that initial, I heard you say this, I heard you say this, etc. It'll be it'll be okay. It'll take off on its own and be okay. But it's like leaving training wheels on for a little bit, or your dad holding the back of the bike while you're pedaling. Eventually he lets go, but you need to know you're safe first. Then he sees that you've got the balance. He lets go. You're still going. It's fine. So it does take a little bit of that, but it does take both of you. I do believe that too. I don't think it's just you sitting there trying to regulate through it, and it shouldn't, because this is a partnership. And I think meeting you at that space is not unreasonable,
So, and on that note, so like, just reflect again, I'm just using myself as test dummy here. So my first relationships were turbulent, not malicious, but turbulent, because we all were in a turbulent environment, borderline shady, right? So everyone's constantly operating on some version of survival, fight constantly, right? Not necessarily with each other, but there's always tension.
Yeah.
I'm talking, this is the relationships. I'm not even talking about where I'm coming from, right? Because that's a whole different level. So then I think like my early 30s, I'm like, clearly I am the denominator, where like, so I'm choosing the wrong people, right?
Yeah.
Based on, like some old chemistry or blueprint that, my body perceives as exciting, therefore as something that it like calculative recognizes familiar. So we're going to go for that. So then I started, okay, clearly I need to date something completely else, because the familiar does not work.
Right.
So then I went into the opposite, right? Unfamiliar, the completely opposite characteristics, personality, aesthetic even. And I had this, because I am showing up right now with this new version of myself. I am almost owed by God. God, and I mean universe, and I'm not talking Christian Sky Daddy, right? But just like this, because I am willing to do the work and I'm making these new choices, I am owed a reward, right? Ending up in a marriage where I really wanted to do the work, but there was substance abuse, right? So no matter of how much I did, like the whole, like, let's try this endlessly, you're not dealing with a clear thinking person.
Right.
And actually that was one of the first few times where I'm like, because I'm not dealing with a clear thinking person, I cannot expect to be met at the same level as would want to be met in this place, right? Because this person is not led by his own, it's led by something like, I always call parasitic demon or whatever, right? It's like the substances are like, it's a spirit almost. So that, like, then going to the other pendulum extreme, and now I feel like I'm in the balance, right? Where I'm in a beautiful relationship. Both people want to figure things out, and now my old response become very visible to me, right? So just like a silly. So we were having a conversation, a debate, discussion, whatever you want to call it, and after that, my mind is like angry, because I can control that, right? Blame, because I can control that. All these aspects that I can control, at least my mind wants to control, because sitting in the right now, there's some sadness, I don't feel understood or heard. That's fucking uncomfortable. I want to solve that. And the control aspects, anger, blame, are very easy.
Right.
because they go outward, right? Like
That's right. Yeah.
So recognizing them, like, oh, and then for me this like justification come, and I notice my mind doing this, right? So my mind is into angry mode, everything fucking sucks, and now it starts finding more evidence on why everything
Of
sucks,
course.
right?
That's right.
So now I'm pulling other things that normally in and of itself are annoying, but now I'm adding them as evidence. So everyone knows I hate this fucking house, I hate this place, but now it's like, see, that's just more evidence that this is not working. Or the dog, we have fucking 6 dogs, right? 2 puppies, they going ballistic. See, this is another evidence that I'm not supposed to be here. Like, it's just, and it's not, again, and I'm making it a point to saying it out loud, and I wrote it out too, because I get to hear how ridiculous it sounds.
Right.
And that's needed. Because
right.
I feel that we don't have enough conversations about the inner dialogue of growth, challenging times, old blueprints, DNA, et cetera, right? So again, I know this is not right. I know, but I don't have the new blueprint yet. So I'm constantly in this fucking in between where I'm trying to mimic the healthy. I don't feel them yet, but I know that that's the gateway to the healthy.
Right.
Because at one point, the healthy becomes the blueprint.
Right.
And then, et cetera, evolve.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, it sounds like, what you were doing with the 75 hard, right? Day 1 was some bullshit. Like day one, like the first day one was some bullshit, I'm sure. I mean,
the first 2 weeks, what in the fucking fuck? From like, fuck Andy Frisella. He's the owner. He's the creator of 75 Hard. Fuck him. He's a man. He has no ideas, women and our fucking cycles. And as if like someone made me do this.
Right. No, you brought it on yourself, and then you sat there and like cursed his name the entire time, I'm sure. I mean,
I'm like, fuck this weather. Why is it raining? Like, so I've one theme that is very prevalent for, and I talk about this all the time in my own teachings too, is that there is a particle, and it's 100% daddy issues, which I think results in authority issues when you don't have had a father like myself, right? And I've got the message very early on that my dad, so by the way, context. My mom was 17 when she got me. Dad was 53 or 57 or someone. He was a rock star. He has 11 kids from 11 different wives. I have brothers that are older than my mom. But he was always like, I never want to know Bara. Like, that was very clear. So there's this like wound. And I think that daddy wounds is also what make entrepreneur women really good at money. Like, because it's the external validation. But when you don't have a healthy masculine relationship, it turns out that so you don't understand that authority can be for you. You instantly become anti-government, anti-cops, anti-teachers, anti-anything, anti-God, like religion. Because what do you mean God has my best interest? So it instantly, for me, always translates God is punishing me. And again, while I have a Catholic background, I don't associate with Christianity, but it always translates in God is punishing me. Daddy wound.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's, I've seen that a lot, like on the internet. I'll see people say, this is the universe is conspiring for you. The universe is not conspiring for you. And I'm just like, the universe wants to kill you, right? Like it really does. On every level, you should be dead because
nature wants to kill you.
Yeah, it does. And the universe doesn't care if you live or die because you're never leaving it. Like you're never going to leave. So it really doesn't care you live or die. It's actually quite apathetic towards your living or dying because it just all comes back together anyway. So it's like,
it just is.
It just is. You just exist. Like you can't destroy matter. You can't create matter. You're just here and then you're not. And then, and then you're somewhere else, like ashes to ashes, whatever. Right. So like, I'm like, I think you're giving yourself a lot more credit and placing a lot more importance on yourself than the universe will give you. And I get it. It sounds very important, but I just want to clarify that maybe if things weren't surrounded by so many exclamation points and capital letters and bold face underline words all the time. And perhaps if we just wrote in regular typeface, your story would actually seem a lot more, relatable, and a lot more human. Because I think we have a tendency to exaggerate things. Like you were saying, I'm building a case, and everything's evidence of what I want to see. And it's like, it is. It also doesn't have to be, right? But it's going to be whatever you make it. So it's like, however you work the facts and the evidence around you, it's the case you're building for you in your head. So like, if you want to justify that you don't belong somewhere, there's enough evidence to do that. And there always is. There always is. Like,
Yeah.
Even under the best of circumstances,
Mhm.
that's why you
Mhm.
see, like, I mean, I've seen so many TikTok videos from people sharing them. I don't go on TikTok, but like other people have shared these videos where it's like these women are lamenting the fact that they left their husbands for another man and then realized that he was just a really good man and I don't know why he won't take me back, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, damn, you really made the case. And then,
Just on that note, my little brother, he shared this statistic with me. It's a theory, it's like philosophy, that it's the 80-20 rule, that when your partner has 80% of everything you would ever want, that after in certain phases and in certain times, you will amplify the 20% to be bigger than it is. And then you will see it in others, be like, oh my God, but those 20% is like way more, attractive all of a sudden. Until you then get into, so you get into like a messy, until you realize, oh shit, I'm just amplifying the 20%.
Yeah, it's an illusion.
Disproportionate than it is, right?
Yeah.
And I do believe that from nature, our mind is wired to seek out the danger, because in some kind of cave time we needed that, right? Because everything kind of was danger, right? Like realistically, everything was danger.
Yeah.
So I think there's extreme importance in retraining constantly the mind into seeking evidence to whatever the goal or whatever your dream or whatever the fuck it is, right? Because it's the biology of our mind is against us in that sense, just by virtue of living in such modern life and safety.
Right. No, that's true. And I think, you don't want to be so naive that you're impervious to danger when it really is dangerous, right? And that's the line you're walking is, and I think women do this, especially just because of who we are in the world and our general history is that, we're not the same as men. And, and yeah, it's 2025, but if you're saying that epigenetically we're kind of wired to be concerned for our safety because, that's a real thing, then, we want to make sure that we're not being, stupid and irresponsible, but we also don't want to be so, so fucking, paranoid that we can't have a relationship, like it can't be that, because it's like at some point you're going to become like an emotional hypochondriac. You never leave the house. You always think of something, and like an agoraphobe. You never leave the house. You're just like, constantly terrified that something bad will happen. And yes, it will, but it's not like life or death every time. Giving yourself that ultimatum really does make you feel like, oh shit, like everything is an oh shit moment. And it's like, well, sometimes the consequence is just that he's going to go off and pout for a little bit. I'm willing to pay that, or I'm going to go pout for a little bit. That's not the worst consequence in the world. If that's the worst that could happen, okay, we'll go off into our separate corners and be pissed for a little bit. That's okay. Like no one's dead, and it's like, I literally say this at work. I say this at work all the time. I have to tell my team, we literally got into advertising because 0 lives are on the line. 0. If God forbid I miss a deadline, no one dies. Like no one even gets hurt. No one gets hurt. We are so in that middle lane of like, there's lawyers who are seriously fighting life and death cases right now, right? There are doctors putting brains back together and fucking trying to replace a heart. And I'm over here wondering whether or not my Facebook ad ran. Like everybody just needs to be fucking cool. Okay. And I try to regulate at work all the time because I'm just like, because everybody gets heightened and they get carried away and they think this is the most important shit. And it's like, it's fine to take your job seriously. It's fine to take your feelings seriously. It's fine to take your relationship seriously. But in the larger context of things, no one's dying. everyone's cool, and we got to just bring it back to that middle lane where we're like going just 5 miles over the speed limit and on cruise control. Like, like we got to do that. Like, because if we don't, I mean, because then you go back to what you were doing before, which is in a constant heightened scenario, right? In one way or another, either you're worried about, because you're going to extremes. You're going to constantly live in that space. I don't know that, and clearly you didn't like it. Clearly it didn't work. So it's like, these are not things you want for yourself. These are things that are just happening. And so there is a matter of going, like to my point about the 75 hard, the first 2 weeks is just holy shit. But you said, right now I'm literally faking this shit because I'm so out of shape. I'm fuck, but that wasn't forever. Your body caught up, and it started to work, and it started to help you, and you started to see results. And then because you decided to chronicle it and keep pictures of it, you see it. So now you're like, oh yeah, see. And then like, even if you kept your older clothes, you're like, yeah, these used to be my, my skinny jeans. Now they're my baggy jeans. And it's like, whatever, and it's like, and I think when it comes to like physical fitness, obviously you can see physical results. I think because you journal so much, I think it's worth reading, to see how you were on this day when you resolved a conflict versus this day when you resolved a conflict. Because sometimes if you're working a particular line of effort and action and you've committed yourself to it, you should still be able to see the results based on what you're writing down,
And it's also what I've also noticed is that like I am in a super aggressive growth mode. Like I'm trying to triple my business, right? Like I'm being stretched energetically, physically on the fucking farm. So I'm doing all these things. So I feel like every time you go to a new level, old wounds come with. And they're like, oh, you thought I was done? Hi, motherfucker. I'm here again. Like a little demon. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, right.
I'm here again.
Yeah.
You got rid of me. And then everything comes up again until that level becomes the norm, right? And then you kind of like spiral up and yeah.
No, it is that. And I think, I feel like it's one of those where it's like, everybody has it different. Like there's, whatever that demon is, whether it's insecurity or whether it's like, wanting to quit because fuck these people or whatever it is. I get it. And I think for me, it's like, I get frustrated with the fact that I know that there's certain parts of me, parts of my behavior and my personality that are very unique to me. And I've had to sit down and almost like commit a list that says, this is what normal people do. And this is you. Okay. Normal people do this. You're literally like doing the fucking most on some of this. That's fine. But you need to be cool with the fact that everybody's not going to do this.
Oh my God. Can we go into this, please?
100%. Because that's me.
Like, as a serial entrepreneur who has like 100x her life, right? I get so frustrated when people don't understand. Like, what do you mean you don't understand that I'm going to have like a $20 million ranch? Like, that's just one time 100xing again. Like, I've done it. Why would I be able to do it again? Right? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And in some cases, it's understandable and it's fine, whatever. But in other cases, it's like, if I'm really exceeding you in this way, maybe we don't have as much in common as we should.
Right. No, and this was like, general. This was not for the relationship, by the way.
No.
Because my husband is like, yeah, let's get the 20 mil ranch.
No, like, okay. For sure. No, I mean, I think, but in terms of ambition, right? Or in terms of like standards, when you start to see standards slipping and people aren't, and like you realize that a person isn't keeping up with that, like, it's just like, but why though? Like, why is this hard for you to see? Like, why is it that hard for you? And like, there's certain things, and I think that's the difference, right? It's like, there's the day-to-day, And there's like critical mass differences, right? Like values or ambitions or like, you know, like just your, you know, your general, you know, belief system of how you see the what the world is to you. I mean, these are foundational things. And sometimes, you know, it's like, I don't know, I've seen it in people, not necessarily relationships, but like, you know, people like, you know, people who are friends or people who are, you know, like colleagues. And you're just like, wow, philosophically, you don't see things as I see it. And so like I've talked to people before, like at work, right? Just work relationship, not marriage or whatever, just work relationship. And I'll start talking and I'll say, yeah, I'll say something like, you know, I'm the way in which I see people is that the an open hand carries more sand, you know, so the more I try to control it, the less sand I keep and the less control I actually have. So I kind of take that approach. And I've said that to people. And there are some people who are like, yeah, that makes sense. I think that's right. You know, and then there's some people who are just like, no, I've got to micromanage everything. And I'm just like, yeah, and you're going to drive yourself batshit doing that. But also I need you to not do that to me. Because like, I don't put up with that shit. Like I'm not getting micromanaged, you know, so you could just keep that over there. You know, like I've had, you know, people where it's like, I have to emotionally regulate people that I'm working with because they get really worked up and pissed off over shit. And I'm just like, yeah, I need you to not be like that, you know? And sometimes it's just a matter of me saying, all right, well, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. Or, you know, and I just kind of blow it off because it's just like, I'm not going to even acknowledge that you're getting pissed right now. This is so not worth it. You can be pissed, but I'm not joining you. And I'm going to show you that I'm not joining you, you know? And it's like, you know, when you say, I'm going to do this thing, right? Whatever it is, I'm going to 100x this, 10x this, whatever it is. I'm going to do this
75
thing.
hard.
Right. I'm going to do it again. Fuck it. I'm on round 12, whatever, you know, just keep doing that until, you know, whatever. It's like, there's no reason to lie about it, first of all, but second of all, like, why wouldn't you? And why couldn't you? You know, and it's like, and when people actually, if people can't be supportive of it and people can't at least say, okay, maybe it's not for me, but that sounds really cool. Let's, you know, I'm kind of eager to see how it goes for you, you know. I don't know why people can't do that, you know?
How do you not look fucking down? Because this is 100%. So, and I'm using normies. So I tend to use normies as in like non-entrepreneurs, but now I'm going to use it in a derogatory term. How the fuck do you not look down on people who have no dreams, no ambition? And again, ambition, if your ambition is to collect all the fucking post stamps, you go at it, motherfucker. You like, I'm here for that.
Right.
But like no ambition, like
right.
I'm actually physically disgusted by it.
You gotta see, like that's the like I always thought, like, and I've called it something else. I've said, you know, I've kind of come to the feeling that like there's a lack of purpose that people exhibit, or it's just like they just kind of feel like they're a sack of meat here, and then at some point they're going to expire, and they're just waiting for that to happen. But they're also terrified because they have nothing. They're afraid to die. But then when I ask them why, see, like I'm not afraid to die, right? But I would have a reason to be afraid to die because there's so many things I still want to do, like that I know that are on my docket of things to do, right? And there are people that I know I love and I want to spend more time with them. And we had plans. Like I literally have plans in my book saying I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and we have it ready to go. And I'm actually working toward those things, right? So if somebody said you're dying today, I would at least lament that piece where it's like, I didn't get to the thing that I said I was going to do in May. You know, like if I died before your wedding, I would be sad that I missed your wedding, you know, but it's like that. I mean, that would be a thing, like, you know, but it's not because not for lack of trying, right? I want, but if, you know, lightning strikes and I die, it is what it is. But like, but in that moment where I know I'm dying, I would be like, fuck, I missed the wedding, you know, or like, I would think that would be things that I was like, I would miss it. I'm not afraid of it, but I know that I had things to live for and there were things I was working toward, right? There are people who aren't, like just aren't. And you're just like, and you're really afraid to die, but what life are you leaving behind? Exactly. You haven't done anything. You've bitched the entire time I've known you. You know, you haven't accomplished anything. You haven't changed anything. All you've done is bitch. what are you afraid of? You're not leaving anything.
Well, and it's like, and so for one, it's really one thing that's for me as an outsider, as a non-American, challenging is in America everything is about purpose and the why, and in East Europe it's very much because I fucking want to, just because I want that experience. So why you want to be fucking rich? Like in America, it's like, oh, because I want to help the world, and there's always some grandioseness.
Yeah.
Kelly is sitting on the floor. Yes. Bobby's asking in the chat. There's some grandiose, right? Like there's some, and I love America for that, right? And again, for us in East Europe, it's like because I want to experience it. And I make this joke all the time that I want a $27 million ranch just so I can say, this ain't it after all. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like these problems, actually. I want other problems.
Yeah, I want different problems. Maybe 15 million problems rather than 27 million problems.
Right.
Yeah,
Like maybe like $7 million range problems, but I want to experience it. So it's but for me, it's like when I see people with no ambition, I'm like, the bad shit or the subpar shit that you have around you will always be available. Like it will welcome you back with open arms anytime. So it's not like you'll lose something by trying something else. Maybe not even something better, just something else.
Right.
Like the circumstances you're used to will always be there.
Right.
The shitty job will always be there. Shitty partner
100%.
will always be there. Shitty friends always be there. No money will always be there. Like it will always be there. So I don't understand why people won't try other shit.
Well, that's the thing. Poverty and failure are constants, right? They don't fluctuate. They exist. That is the baseline. That is where we start, right? We start in poverty. We're born with nothing. Doesn't matter if your family's rich. You're not.
Right?
You're naked, you're poor, you're hungry, and you can't do shit for yourself. That's how you're born. Okay, like
you can hold your head for 4 months or
you couldn't even hold your head up. You needed, and it took your eyebrows muscles to finally fucking lift them up. Like come on. Okay, that is your starting point.
The baseline.
So if you think about it this way, like you said, there's a constant layer of bullshit always there for you. Failure is always there. Poverty is always there. Why? Because that's the default, right? But opportunity to do something more than that and exceed and build, grow, whatever, those are rather sporadic. And you have to sit there and create that opportunity.
Word.
Right? Because the opportunity fairy isn't going to come and sprinkle some fucking dust on you in the middle of the night and be like, here's a $7 million ranch. No, that's not how it goes.
God, I wish.
Right? But if it did, it'd be sad.
Whose God do I need to fucking, bribe or do something with, wink, wink, to get that happen? Right?
So you have to create, not only do you have to create the wealth, you have to create the opportunity to build the wealth. And then you have to recognize when it's ready so that you can pounce on it and jump up from this horrible poverty position out of where you are, or climb your way out of there and build little opportunities on the way up. You have to build your own ladder and put your own rungs into it and climb. So like imagine if you were given two batons and you're just sitting there climbing each one up this hill, and you have to do that yourself. Like that is what you're doing. And that's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. And to be quite honest, I think a lot of people fear failure. And I don't know why, because you were already a failure. You were born one. Like
I'm laughing because it sounds like a dominatrix. It's so true. And I'm like, you already are a failure. Like
you haven't done anything. Like, right. And I'm just, but it's true. Like, it's just like, wait, you've already failed. Like that, you already know what that tastes like.
You're an expert at failing.
100%. That's everybody's life. But like, can you be an expert at something other than failure? Like, because that would be cool, because that would be noteworthy. That would be exceptional. That would be good. That would be exciting, like, and you hear the stories all the fucking time. There was a story, which I love, by the way, of this guy from Mexico who came to the United States and was the janitor at Frito-Lay. Have you heard this story?
No.
Janitor
I already love it.
Yes. I don't even think he had a high school diploma. Okay. Like literally the janitor at Frito-Lay. And he was just so happy to have a job. And, the job was decent. It paid for what he needed and whatever. And he was a very enthusiastic employee, like took pride in everything he did. And the CEO or the chief marketing officer or something like that, one of the C-suite guys, puts out this ad internally to the company, and this little promo thing. Hey, we're always open to suggestions and we're always looking for new things to do. If you've got an idea, no one's above a good idea. Anybody can submit, right? And he puts it out there just like an altar call. Just anybody can do whatever. And it was kind of to get people engaged with the company. It was more for that, a little bit of internal motivation that everybody kind of does a fun thing and whatever. And, and I think a lot of the American employees kind of saw it that way. And they were just like, oh, it's like Hawaiian shirt day on Friday, whatever, blew it off. The janitor was like, I have an idea. And he went and got these like different spices that he really liked and got somebody at the R&D product area and said, can I have a bag of flavorless Cheetos? Just the base Cheeto, nothing on it. Give me those before you season it. Okay, gives him a bag. Takes it and starts experimenting with different seasonings that he likes. Brought it in and submitted that as his idea. He said, this is what Mexicans like. We like spice. We like flavor. We like this. This is a good flavor. It will sell. I promise you, because I know I like it. I know everybody else buys these spices off the racks. It's a good idea. And he says this. He needed his wife to translate it and actually write it out for him because he didn't know enough English to do this. Okay. His wife did all the writing and everything, built out this explanation and everything. And he goes in and he pitches it. And they take him in and they make time and he pitches it. And they're just like, okay, let's try it. Let's see it. And we've tried it. Let's do a test market. We'll do a test market. They did a test. It took off. That flavor still exists. It's like one of the like spicy Cheetos or whatever it is. It's one of those flavors. It took off. He took off. He went from janitor to like the VP of Hispanic product marketing. Okay. The guy went from like an absolute like
American dream, baby.
But he's done, and like there are stories like this all the time.
All the time.
Only because he answered when asked. That was it. And he's like, I just like this taste. Literally the only things that happened. But he took the time to do it. He submitted it and he tried and he put it forward.
So let's break that one even down, right? So in the sense, like you start off as a failure, then you have to create the opportunity, and two, you have to recognize it, then you have to jump up to it, right? Yes. So create the opportunity, move to America, get a job, right?
Yep.
Recognize the opportunity, hearing the intercom going like, hey, everyone, if you have an idea, jump up to it because it's the right time.
Yep.
So recognize that it's the jumping time. Execute on it, boom. And then like you've stacked 5 things of luck being able to come to you. Boom. Of course you did luck.
That's right. I mean, it is, it is a matter of, it's just an intersection of things where it works, and I don't think there's anybody who can, at the end of the day, there's nobody that can tell you how to do that. And there's nobody who can say, if you just do, that's one of the reasons why it's like a lot of these, there's like a lot of tutorials that say that they can help you get to a certain place. And it's like, there is a component in there that is not on your checklist. And I know it's not. And that is that there's a certain amount of aptitude, ethic, being able to read a circumstance and a situation and recognize it as yours, that's all like intuitive. That's something you have or you don't, and it's like I tell people when they first start in the industry, you don't need any experience to be on time. That requires absolutely zero skill, just so you know, like anybody can be on time. So it's like, I'm not going to hold you to knowing everything about the industry. I'm going to hold you to a certain ethic that you should already have. You should already be punctual. You should already come ready to learn. You should already come, prepared and ready to work and be able to, take notes. These are all things you should be able to do that require no experience, and it's like, do you have the ethic to do it? And you'd be surprised, like, how many people are not particularly great, but they jumped and hung on to the, and jumped and took it. That's right. And they're not that great at it, but they're the only ones out there because nobody else is taking the, I've noticed that 100%. I look at that and I was just like, how the fuck did this person get that title? And I'm like, let's just pull aside that maybe she didn't suck dick to get there. And she actually she just got there, right? And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? And you're like, you know what? I know what fucking happened. And then people start to piece the puzzle together. It turns out everybody started quitting because the company sucked, right? So all the good talent left, and the only person left standing was this bitch. So they promoted her because they didn't want her to leave. And there you go. And I'm just like, holy shit, that's how you got promoted. You literally got promoted by just waiting while everybody else took off. Yeah. While everybody left, you just stood there and waited, and the opportunity presented itself, and you were like, okay. I mean, but sometimes it happens like that. And it's like, there's other people who are, there were people I've seen where they left the industry altogether, the ad industry. And they're like, I'm going to go start a YouTube channel with my brother. And I'm like, for real? They're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to be my two brothers and me are going to be able to pay our mortgages and retire on this YouTube channel. And I was like, oh shit, send it to me. Sends me the link. It's a story about it's a YouTube channel about their aquariums and their fish collection. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, we've monetized it to the point where I can quit now. And I was like,
oh boy,
my fucking God. And I was just like, literally anything. Like, literally anything. If you can, the odds are you're really not as far back in the pack as you think you are, right?
The adult industry, by the way, is such a great example of this, because there's like often like TikTok or whatever reaches the normie, the vanilla people, right. And they find like a TikTok account who has 100,000 followers and just a foot standing on like leaves or like food, and that's a crush fetish. That's a very big thing, and it makes it's a huge market. So I'm like, you realize that there's people doing a crush fetish over there, and not diminishing, because you still have to show up, right? You still have to make the video of the crushing the foot on food or a leaf or a crispy, whatever the fuck. You still have to do that, but again, outside of that, that's already your jump, right?
Yeah.
These people making $10,000, $20,000, $100,000. And I'm like, here you are overthinking your life if you have a perfect idea or whatever. I'm like, okay.
Right? Like, you don't have to do that. Like, you really don't. I mean, fuck, you could even look at something and say, and I told this to my daughter, actually. I said this to my daughter because my daughter was like, I don't know what I want to do. At first she was like all about interior design. And then she kind of was like, no, I kind of want to go. I want to stay in the golf industry. I want to do something in golf, but I don't want to be a pro golfer. Right. And I was like, and she's like, maybe I'll get into sales. And I was like, no. And she goes, well, what then? And I said, if you're going to get into sales, you're getting into sales for the sole purpose of finding your business. I said, you get into the industry to find what your business is going to be. I said, your business is not that.
Yes. By the way, I have this theory, and it's unbroken for now, like this law. Anyone who gets good at sales will get good at anything and everything in life.
100%. 100%.
It does not matter what.
Right. Get into it, but you're not staying there. I said, do not go in with the intention of staying there.
It's a chariot.
There. That's right. You go in there and you learn everything about the industry that you can. And you're going to find something that is lacking and is absolute bullshit or is insufficiently served. And then you're going to break off and go do that. That's your job. That's your actual job, is the business you build off of that. And I started giving examples. I said, in every industry, there are supplemental companies that exist that prop up these larger ones. And you can make an unreal amount of money doing this, where it's like you're not actually in the business of making, you don't have all the overhead and the risk and the bullshit. No, I'm just here to supplement this one piece of your business because you're falling apart here. I saw it, I know it, and I can do that piece. But I'll do it professionally and I'll do it for everyone. And then now I'm just a contractor going around. And if I lose one client, I don't give a fuck. I've got 20 more and I'll find 20 more after that. You'll sell it because you've already been in sales, but you already know the industry and you know everybody. Like, that is what you're doing. I said, that is your whole fucking life. I said, if you do this, you're set for life.
Word. And one unique thing about selling, and I had this theory when I was younger, and I'm coming back to this law again as I'm learning how to sell, is that selling is rarely about selling. It's becoming okay with the rejection, with the showing up, with the no, with the opinions. That's what selling is. Once you get over that, again, you're fucking untouchable.
Right. Well, that's
fucking touchable.
I met a guy who was, I think he was in real estate for a little bit. Then he was selling loans. He was like a loan officer, but he was like the guy who brings in the clients. And he was telling, I said, I don't know how you do it. At the time I was like, I met him and I was like, I don't know how you guys do this. And he's just like, he says, you know what? I will dance like a motherfucking monkey because at the end of the day, I'm going back to my 5,000 square foot house and my collection of cars and my golf membership and my beautiful wife and 3 kids. I don't give a fuck. He's like, I'll do whatever. I just don't care. And I was like, you need a certain amount of imperviousness, right? You need a certain amount of like, I couldn't give a fuck. Just pay me and I'm done. Like, and be cool with that. Like, everybody's like, you got to be passionate. No, I don't. You just got to show up and work it.
Because passion is not going to outdo the feelings that come from having to do, like, the rejection, the disappointment, right? Like,
no, right.
Passion doesn't compromise for that.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. It doesn't. It will never compensate for like all the shortcomings of the job. So, and that's what I noticed too about any job is like, even the one I work, I'm like, I don't need people to tell me I did a good job. I don't need people to say thank you. I don't need any of that. It's life affirming for me because I already know I did a good job. I'm fine, and I pat myself on the head and I tell myself I did great. And I'm like, oh, I fucking crushed it. And if anybody asks me, what do you think about this? I'll be like, I fucking crushed it. What do you mean? I'm fucking great. And we know it. We know it because I turn my shit around immediately. It's quick, it's accurate every time. And I know, and I know exactly what I'm doing. So it's like, I know that about me. And so I don't need other people to affirm me all the time, but it's like, but everybody's like, you really like this, don't you? I said, I like being good at things, in the same way I don't like cleaning a house, but I love a clean house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that my house is clean, but I don't like cleaning it, but I love a clean house. Yeah. I don't love my job. I love that I'm good at it, and so I'm more fixated on the fact that I'm good at something and then I get paid for it, and that it's really a lot easier for me than the money I'm getting for it. But it's like, okay, it's worth this much to you. I'll do it, but I think that's where it all kind of comes together there. But I didn't mean to derail your question.
Oh, no, I love it. Oh, no. This is how it goes. Fucking gold mine up in this bitch. And with that note, also, like, we can end up that high. So we went from relationship, self-awareness, mediocrity, failure. Everyone's an expert failure. That's going to be the title of this one. Everyone's an expert. Everyone's expert at failing.
That's right.
Sales to like skills. Yeah. Okay. Fuck yeah.
We covered it. Solved all the world's problems. You're welcome, everyone.
Once again, you're welcome. Everyone, this is Rich and Hydrated Podcast, Diamonds and Demons edition. And we'll be here next week again. This will be on all the podcasts, everyone, everything. I need y'all to share, like, comment. See, my DMs are always open. If you want to be like, oh my God, but I have big opinions. Shit, tell me your big opinions, good or bad. I'm fucking here for it. But yeah, we'll be here again. Diamond, thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Hell yeah.